old cemetery called Maple Hill Cemetery. Placed in the corner of the property, there's a small children's playground named Dross Park, or as the locals call it, Dead Children's Playground. Some say that the spirits of the dead children come to the playground to play, but dating back to the 1960s, the area around Huntsville had experienced a large amount of child abductions that had devastated the city. Unfortunately, many of the children didn't survive the clutches of their captors, and their bodies were discovered around the area where the morbid playground now sits. Over the years, some curious investigators have reported witnessing the swing moving by itself, as well as hearing the disembodied voices of children singing, playing, and even calling out to them. Some have even seen dust from the sand that covers the area rise, as if someone had jumped off a swing. In 2007, the city tried to destroy the park to make more room for the graves. They removed the slides and swings overnight in order to increase the area of the cemetery. But after a public outcry, the city replaced all the equipment with new installations. Thanks to the citizens of Huntsville, Alabama, children dead and alive will still have a place to play in Maple Hill Cemetery. Turnbull Canyon may seem like a normal hiking trail in Los Angeles County. However, there's a more dark and sinister side to the canyon. There's also the history of gruesome events of satanic rituals, ghosts, hangings, kidnappings, and KKK meetings. During the Great Depression, the canyon had been used for satanic rituals. Many families during this era had to give their children up to orphanages due to financial issues. Sad enough, there was a cult that would adopt the children from these orphanages and slaughter them in the canyon. And this had led them to kidnapping children. They were a large group of men and women, no children, wearing robes black as midnight, and reenacted strange rituals each night. People that have been to Turnbull Canyon at night have seen hooded figures roaming on the trails. One witness, carefully sneaking up on the camp, was able to take a close look at one of their rites, and return to tell the tale. A young boy, 12 years old at most, was strapped to a cross in the center of the circle of people. Entranced and paralyzed with fear, the resident watched as the robed figures danced around and around, chanting in a language he could not recognize, but sent a chill down his spine. After a time, the chanting suddenly increased in intensity. The cross was hoisted upright, the child struggling but unable to cry out through the rough cloth that had been stuffed into his mouth. Pulling the cross back down and then hoisting it up the other way, the townsman finally truly realized what was happening. An upside-down cross. But he could do nothing. The cultists struck the boy again and again, blood flying out of every direction. Eventually, their fury subsided and so did the blows. Peering close, the Puente Hills resident breathed a sigh of relief to see the boy was still breathing. But what happened next, he could never forget. They took him away. They simply removed the boy, stuffing him into a large sack and tossing it roughly into a wagon. Some people have seen children, possibly victims of the cult, sometimes appear swinging from trees, stick around too long, and it is said that they'll open their eyes and stare at you with silent accusation. This urban legend is similar to the well-known Bermuda Triangle, which has also claimed many people in its mysterious location. More than 20,000 people have went missing and were never found until this day. Inside this triangle, there are huge amounts of unexplored wilderness, such as forests, mountain peaks, and isolated barren tundra. Locals who live in these areas and tourists who visit the location vanish each year. Also, mysteriously, planes go missing or crash without an explanation. What could be causing all these strange disappearances to happen? Locals believe that the creatures that lurk inside the triangle are the reason for all the missing people. The most common case is that of Bigfoot, or what the natives from the Tlingit tribe like to call it, the Kushtaka, which means otterman. They believe the shape-shifting demon is a cross between a man and an otter that lures its victims by disguising itself as a helpless child or a woman. Once it captures its victims who are lost, it takes their souls. It's an old folklore that hasn't been proven, but it is scary to think about. Many locals who said that they encountered Bigfoot reported its remains, nesting sites, and also unidentified hair samples. Some people even relocated because of the horrific encounter with the beast. Which is surprising because the most common understanding is that it's quite peaceful, and it prefers isolated areas. Another suggestion that could well involve the disappearances is extraterrestrial beings. In 1986, a Japanese plane was flying from Iceland to Anchorage, Alaska, when it came in contact with 3 unidentified aircrafts that followed the airliner for 400 miles right through the Alaskan Triangle. It was reported that one of the objects was twice the size of an aircraft carrier, and the other 2 were smaller in size. The crew said that they seen flashing lights following their plane, and air traffic controllers picked up something unidentified on their radar. Already being strange enough, the objects would go real fast and stop suddenly, which is impossible for any airliner to do. Not knowing what these objects were, they tried to escape by getting permission from ground control to fly at lower altitudes. But everything they did, they could not get rid of them. After 32 minutes of them being chased, the strange objects disappeared, and the pilot claimed that it lasted much longer than that. With all the strange encounters, the mystery of the Alaskan Triangle is still unknown. Could it be the natural causes of death because of Alaska's hazardous terrain, or the creatures who lurk within the triangle? Let us know what you think in the comments section. On November 16, 1966, Point Pleasant Register reported a couple seeing a man-sized bird creature. Something locals, Steve and Mary Mallet, along with Roger and Linda Scarberry, were driving near the McGlynn Wildlife Reserve on West Virginia Route 62. When they reached the peak of a hill to see a 7-foot creature with red eyes and a wingspan of 10 feet, known as the Mothman. They swerved around the creature, driving away, to find that it was back in front of their vehicle. At this time, the married couples decided to head back to town, traveling at 100 miles per hour, frightened of what they saw. To see that along the side of their vehicle, the creature was following them, swiftly flying above their car 50 feet in the air. They turned down a farm road where it lays on the road as if it wanted them to step out of the vehicle to investigate. They backed up and headed back into town. Later, they would bring a deputy sheriff back to the scene to find nothing but a pile of dust replacing its spot. But this hasn't been the only sighting of the Mothman. Grave diggers witnessed this half-man, half-moth flying through the trees and over their heads. Soon enough, the local newspapers were flooded with sightings of the Mothman. Wildlife experts believe that these sightings locals have been witnessing are from the sandhill crane, with its height reaching up to 3 feet and a wingspan of 5 feet. This could have created an illusion of a terrifying creature in the night, but still, this doesn't explain how a story from a farmer who had a missing dog disappear after seeing this creature on his land. But as mysteriously as Mothman appeared, sightings stopped after the Silver Bridge collapsed in 1967. People believe that the Mothman could have been trying to warn them of a disaster approaching. Even some cryptozoology theorists believe Mothman has been seen at many more large-scale disaster tragedies, such as 9/11. But until this day, Mothman still remains as a very interesting urban legend.